Thanks for watching. This is Neal Isaacs. This is Ask an Intermediary. I'll be your intermediary, Neal Isaacs, the Raleigh business broker. Today's question is from Martha. Martha asks, how do people pay for a business? Thank you for asking, Martha. That's a good question for business buyers. The answer is most business buyers do not want to use their own money. They want to use OPP, other people's money, even if they have the money. They typically want the owner of the business to pay for it. Sounds crazy, but that's a common thing, or a bank to pay for it. But to directly answer your question, business buyers pay for money either all cash, seller financing, or bank financing. So I'll explore those a little bit more in my answer today. All cash deals we typically see with businesses $100,000 and lower. Sometimes we do see, we've done some 300 plus all cash and lower, but typically it's the smaller deals that are $100,000 ish that are all cash deals. Seller financing is getting more and more common as interest rates rise. But what that means, when I personally sold my small business, my business buyer said, "Hey, Neal, great news. I want to buy your business." And I'm like, "Yay." And he said, "Probably because I don't have all the money, but I do have half of it now, and I'll pay you the rest over the next 3 to 5 years." And I'm like, I'm not as excited about that. But when I learned about the tax benefits of that, and there were some other factors that played into it, I decided to take that chance, and I made interest on the money that I loaned him over that time. It did work out for me, and I typically do encourage owners to look at the options for owner financing. Typically, business sellers who do seller finance will get a higher price than owners who do not offer seller financing, and deals tend to go quicker. But that's how owner financing, seller financing, that's how that works. Is you are the bank, Mr. Business Owner. And then the third option I mentioned is bank financing. So how does bank financing work in the sale of a small business? Well, if you buy a home, it's probably a Freddie or Fannie home loan or home mortgage. That's where the government kind of helps banks loan money so that people can buy houses. In the small business world, the equivalent is SBA. That's a Small Business Administration. It's not actually the government that's lending the money. The government, the SBA, Department of the Government, is ensuring to the banks that they'll get the majority of the money in the event of a default. And there's a lot of stuff happening in the background with SBA loans that are motivating factors for the banks to get the deal done correctly. Preferred lender programs, and you don't have to worry about all that stuff. But just know that if you are going to sell a business and your business buyer is going to get a loan, and there's not a lot of assets with the business, which most small businesses don't have a huge amount of assets, they're selling because they make money, it will probably be an SBA loan. It will probably be what I call a financial colonoscopy, which means they're going to ask you, the business owner, for a ton of stuff. And you'll have to provide all of that stuff, like bank statements for the last 90 days, tax returns. I'll get back to that in a minute. They'll have a lot of questions about customer concentration, and they want to see your lease. The lease is a big deal if you use space in an SBA loan. But the bank is asking you of this stuff because they're protecting their investment, and trust that they're already asking the business buyer similar questions. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Is the business buyer a good fit? Is the business seller, the business a good match and makes money? We put those together, we can have an SBA loan. They take 60 to 90 days. There's a ton of rules. You can't do an SBA loan with businesses that make their money off of interest, tobacco, alcohol, hemp. There's a whole list of excluded businesses that just can't be SBA financed. But when we list businesses, we want them to be SBA financeable, because going back to the beginning of our conversation, now we know that the owner doesn't necessarily have to accept seller financing. A bank is willing to take the risk. Ultimately, it comes down to risk. Who's going to bear that risk? If the owner doesn't get all cash, either the owner is going to bear the risk of not getting all the money up front, or the buyer is going to push that risk to a bank. The bank will take the risk. The owner still gets all their cash at closing, Takes longer, more paperwork, but now the bank is holding that risk. And they make some money for doing that. That's an overview of how business buyers pay for businesses and how it affects the seller, Martha. Thank you for asking that. If you're watching this and you have a question about how deals get done, I encourage you to ask me, Neal Isaacs, the Raleigh business broker. That's what we do here at Ask an Intermediary. Well, for Martha and for everyone else, thank you for watching. Put your questions, comments below. Confidential questions, just direct message me. Like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.